Being a solo sailor, especially on long passages, is already very different than sailing as a couple or even with crew. We're used to seamen alone, but a woman solo sailor? But why not? It is great! And today I talked to Silke, who tells us all the pros and the cons and the pleasure of being a woman solo sailor. Welcome to Sailor's Life! Today I'm on Ocean Maiden, a Bavaria 36. Silke, the owner, tells us today about her life and experiences as a solo sailor. Hi Silke!
Hello Jutta!
Silke, you are a woman solo sailor. So did you sail alone from the beginning on?
No, not at all. I left South Africa on another yacht with my then boyfriend, whom I left in Trinidad. And I was lucky, I just needed a home for me and my cat. And there were other South Africans that helped me find a boat. And it was this boat that I bought from another South African couple who stopped sailing for a while. And I crossed the Atlantic with some crew, which was challenging. It was 5 days from Cascais to Porto Santo in Portugal. And then I became a solo sailor. It's a Bavaria, a 36, a 2003 model.
All right. Can I have a quick look inside?
Yeah, sure. Shall I go ahead?
Yes, go ahead, please.
You see, here's normally a fridge which Mike fixed, but I don't have the battery power to run that. So gifts all over from, South Africa. That's actually from South Africa. The lobster from Sylt, Moin from Hamburg, and the tiki from Marquesa. I'm South African resident. So I left Germany in '94, and I thought it would be for 3 months. Well, it's some 20 odd years later, so my residence is still there. I left from South Africa.
So you would call that your home now?
Yeah. I just confirmed that on my trip back. Germany is just too foreign for me.
Silke, sailing on your own, isn't that sometimes lonely or boring?
Yeah, I enjoy the solitude. So you pick your moments. Sometimes it gets a bit much, but in general I enjoy that. And then you can enjoy being amongst people again. But I never get bored. On the contrary, I'm running out of time every day. So I don't know, it's something really bizarre. I still have to learn so much on the boat. And when that's done, I hope I can have some time to, look at my videos. I love snorkeling. I love being in the water. So I do that a lot, and kayaking. And if it's not that, I sometimes like to improve my home a little bit. I only take shells when they're alive that I can eat, and I'm allowed to eat, or they must be dead. The advantages are definitely you can choose your company. And the nice thing is, if you don't like your neighbors, you can just up your anchor and find another place. I can't argue with anyone. I'm the one on the front, on the bow, and I'm the one on the steering wheel if it needs to be. So I'm not shouting at myself. It's very harmonious. The disadvantage, sometimes you do feel lonely, you feel like company, you feel like sharing things. Like I enjoy being in some atolls all by myself. But it's sad that you can't share. You just had this amazing experience snorkeling, and you just want to share with someone, and you can't. So that's the beautiful experiences that you have, that you can't share that. I now love the ocean passengers and get more relaxed. In the beginning, it was quite exciting. I do sleep. And I sleep either in a hammock, which I put up here, or in my cabin. And then I wake up, it depends on where I'm sailing. So in the Pacific, once I was past the Galapagos, I slept up to 4 hours and then went around and went again. I do have ARS, but I do set the alarms very regularly, and 2 or 3 alarms, so I do wake up and I look around for a long time before I go back to sleep. Or if there is something, or there's a boat nearby, then I'm out in the cockpit, so I won't sleep then. Here in French Polynesia, it's shorter, so it can be half an hour sometimes, and then I will look around, but I go straight down. So I do that for 12 hours. You get quite a lot of little sleeps. You don't go into the deep sleep, but you can do that for a week or 2. No, it's actually quite relaxing, sailing the Pacific. It's I mean, from Panama, the beginning is a bit rough because you get all these lightning storms in Panama and the area. But once you pass the Galapagos, it's easy sailing unless something happens. But yeah, that's another story.
Silke, do you think there is a big difference between women sailing on their own or men sailing on their own?
Maybe women are a bit more cautious than men that I know. I reef much earlier than most men, I think. But no, I don't. In general, I think from a sailing point of view, we're pretty much the same. It's yeah, when you have some issues that require strength, can be an issue, but it can be an issue for men. So you need some tools that help you do things on your own. A good vice grip is, very good, and one of these like can opener type things, or for oil filter removal, I use them all the time.
And what about technical stuff? So are you able to fix your motor if something breaks, or
if it really breaks, I don't think so, but the maintenance I do, all that. But I was lucky. I had a very good tutor right in the beginning. I would have to make him tea. He's an Englishman, an older gentleman, but he knows his engine. So he would sit here and he would not get his hands dirty, but he showed me how to do it, and I had to do everything. So the oil filters he taught me, and the fuel filters, all kinds of things, and it was wonderful. That's how you learn. When someone just shoves you away and tries to do it himself, you don't learn. So I was lucky that I had sometimes the right people, men and women, teaching me the main things. So it's great. I mean, Moggy, Lynn taught me everything about sanding and painting, and she's how to sand properly. Dave taught me a lot about electrics and plumbing and all kinds of things. So, I think it's great when you have people that can help you and you learn from them. I think it's good to know a little bit about sailing and a little bit about the things on your boat for starting off. Before you do any passengers, it's good to know a little bit more, maybe. And I think in the beginning, I think I was more fearless because I didn't know so much. So in hindsight, I thought, oh God, I was crazy. But you learn on the way.
For a long passage on your own, is there a party at landfall?
Oh, I was mostly lucky that there were people expecting me, and it was almost always a good party to be held.
Silke, what are your nicest underwater experiences?
Quite a few. The nicest one was with the mantas in Maupiti when it was still lockdown, and I had them mostly for myself. That was wonderful. And then always in Whakarava, I love, there's several locations and you can get really close to the sharks. That's quite exciting. But I love the little fish, when you go to other places where lots of butterfly fishes and parrots and I don't know, lots of fishies that are really nice. And swimming with the whales. So we're here in Morea, and I've been a little bit lucky this time. I've been so often out there and I never dared to jump in, or I was alone with a kayak, so out in the ocean I'm a bit scared of doing that. But 2 weeks ago I had a little swim with whales. It was wonderful. Interaction with the sea life, and it's mostly when you're alone and take your time and spend some time, a couple of days in a place, you get to know the fish.
And your dinghy is a kayak. You don't have a normal dinghy with a motor, so you paddle everywhere.
I used to, and I still used it at the beginning of this year, but it blew up on all seams because I kept it packed away in the forepeak. And the motor I would have had to service after 3 years again. So the local there where I was in Tuau asked if he could have the dinghy, and I thought, I don't have glue for that, so he wanted it, so he's got that, and I thought I'd throw in the little outboard as a present as well. Sometimes you're lucky when you're snorkeling, and I befriended 3 octopus, and takes some time. but after half an hour they get more friendly and they allow you to follow them around, and well, next thing they're changing colors and things. And I filmed one, met another one, and they were mating in front of me. It was great. And after a little while, they're starting to try to grab my camera. So it was, it was wonderful. So, and the moray eel, of course, that giant moray eel, that is also quite friendly, I believe, with tourists, but it's big, and I was a bit annoyed.
Do you feel vulnerable sailing on your own as a woman? And if you arrive somewhere, do you tell other people you're on your own, or especially people on land?
That's tricky. It depends. Sometimes we pretend there's someone else on board. So yes, I do. That makes it easier when you have a husband somewhere, in some countries. So yeah, I'm not always quite truthful there. It depends on where you are.
Do you have weapons on board?
No, not like the American. I mean, I do have flare guns and things which I could use as a weapon.
Do you meet a lot of local people, and do they welcome you?
They're mostly welcoming, especially here in French Polynesia. Sometimes it's also a bit more intense or closer, which is very special. So in Whakarava with Mahayata and in Hirifa, she taught us how to make out of palm fringes, the mats, the baskets, all kinds of little toys and things, which was wonderful. I learned to make my own coconut milk, so of course I have a grater, and I made myself a little seed, and so I can grate my own coconut and make milk out of it, and how to eat sea urchins and how to collect them, how to open these benetier clams that are quite tight. There's a little technique to it that I learned in lockdown, which was actually very, very special and wonderful, because I was in the atoll of Apataki, and there were people in the boatyard, and we were all not allowed to leave. So we had to support each other, and yeah, I learned a lot there. Fishing, spear fishing, which I was actually very pathetic at. So I'm a bit better at that, and I still collect a lot of my seafood. And you learn from the locals which herbs you can even collect in the atolls. You know, it looks very remote and barren, but you can find something to eat. And they share their customs with you, and the dances, and you know, the costumes and drumming, singing. They sing wonderfully, which I can't. And so it is wonderful.
So this is your lifestyle now. What about the future? Are you going to continue like that, or you're going back to land one day, or what are your plans?
No plans. I think that's maybe the best thing. The plan is to enjoy what I'm doing, and there's still so much to explore, and I want to do it slowly, because otherwise I think you get overload, and you can't absorb new things anymore. So it's nice to be stuck here in French Polynesia, thanks to COVID. And yes, I had to import my boat, but it's also an opportunity. You know, you're traveling slower, you get to know people and country better, and I like doing that. I think this is my lifestyle. Who knows how long one can do it. You need to be maybe a bit more healthier than on land, but it also keeps you healthy. So what I like the most about our lifestyle, and that's why I don't really want to give it up yet, is that we are so privileged to enjoy nature still in the most unspoiled way I can imagine. We get to see places where normally the normal tourist can't go to, and that's very, very special. So, and to enjoy the wildlife without bars and everything, so just pure nature. That's my favorite. You never know with health and money or the world, but yes, I hope one can continue this for a long, long time.
If you have any more questions that we haven't discussed yet, please write them in the comments so that I can ask my next interview partners about them. Subscribe my channel Sailors Life if you want to hear more facts, experiences and stories. Give me a thumb up and press the bell if you don't want to miss any of these informations.